Hello, it's Delia. Thanks for clicking on. Today we're going to talk a little bit about speed. When everybody's heard the phrase, it's harder to hit a moving target, right? And when we're little, if we're growing up in a unsafe household, whether it's drugs, alcohol, mental illness, rage. There's all kinds of factors that when adults don't have the support that they need, whether it's conceptual, like therapy is good for you, or pragmatic, having your humanity addressed properly instead of labeled and invalidated, right? So these grown-ups have their things or stuff that has, for various societal reasons, never been addressed. And then children come into the picture, and whatever the trauma or mental illness or anything else that the parents have, it sets the foundation for how the household it runs, and how the thinking gets baked into the kids. And when you're little, sometimes it feels unsafe, and if you're fast enough, maybe you can outrun the problem or get out of their sight line, or maybe if you're fast enough you can please somebody. So we end up with this nervous system that's calibrated with the biochemicals of the body, peptide chains and all those things, to speed is the only safe place. So along with the speed comes tension and a strain to be in the future, to outthink, to predict what the danger is and when it might show up. So this is going to bake into the little child body cortisol levels, all kinds of biochemistry that makes that, whatever that setting is normal, even if from an outside perspective it's not a normal situation. But the biochemistry of the body gets set to this is normal. So high stress, off kilter, unable to imagine a future or predict a future, not predict, even conceptualize future can get obliterated in this environment, because it's so unstable that even if you did make plans, they can be blown by people out of your control. You can set up a birthday party, and then at the last minute, the adults with whatever their issues are can pull the rug out from under you and say you can't have it. You're bad and wrong, and we're going to punish you. Or mom's too drunk, and you don't want people to come over, right? So there's lots of out of your controlness as a child, especially with these difficult situations for the grown-ups. They're not able to, or they have never gotten the attention that they actually need. So they're acting out in ways that are very scary and traumatizing for the children. And so your little baby body gets used to a certain level of frustration, fear, uncertainty, and belittling, right? Making yourself smaller because everybody else makes you not matter, right? So once this is baked in, it can be really challenging to change that, especially if you're not aware of it. So being kind to yourself is a really important way of life. Now, kind is not the same as indulgent, although you can indulge in nice things. But it's not like a mindless, unconscious, right? It's not unconsciousness. And it's not just feeding yourself ice cream all the time. Kindness is stopping eating the ice cream and getting therapy or getting an energy practice that actually supports you and allows your physiological set point to migrate, to come to an easier, a more relaxed place. So if you get set into fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and that's the only place you feel normal, I mean, just think about it. I mean, you're gonna seek out unsafe people because it's normal. You're gonna put yourself in unsafe situations because it's normal. And then along with that normality comes a lot of conclusions like you must deserve it or you must have been wrong. They're not accurate, but it's how it felt, and it may still be how it feels. I had Christmas in our household was always nerve-wracking at best, and my father had unaddressed PTSD from the war, and because that generation didn't acknowledge such things or know about such things. And so my little baby body got set to really high levels of insecurity and having the rug pulled out from under me and the rules always changing. So even if you strove to, hit the high point, once you hit it, nobody would care because changing the goalpost, right? So years and years and years and years later, I was an adult and I was in my 30s or 40s, and I was gonna cook Christmas dinner for some friends, and I stayed up too late. So I woke up early and I was tired and frantic and worried about I'm not going to get it on, it's not going to get everything on the table on time. And it was really I could see it was a disproportionate amount of stress and tension going into this meal because I knew my friends they were easy with everything. And my father had not been. And so even though in present time the people around me were flexible and willing and contented and supportive, the biochemistry kicked in of a lifetime or childhood full of 20 years or so of baked in stress around Christmas dinner. And it was at that moment that I realized that I looked at my friends and they weren't going to be bothered by anything. It was going to be a lovely meal. And I could see that I had been baked into this freneticness and this terror of the rice not being cooked right or not getting everything on the table at once hot. These were trigger points for my father. And so when I was an adult and I could see the people in the room and I could see the meal and I could see all the times and I could see my childhood. And at that moment I had the awareness that, I'm reacting to things that are not happening right now, and I'm reacting to the past. But the cortisol, the biochemistry was coursing, and it was cycling. I could not think my way out of it. But what I could do is I could allow it. I could just have complete compassion and understanding for what was going on for my body, especially. And because when your body chemistry is describing a crisis situation, it can be hard for your brain, especially if you're not educated at it, or, by this time I had a pretty good, a substantial meditation practice, and I could see that I was reacting to the past. But my emotions were sitting on top of the biology. And because of that, all the thoughts and pictures went along with my childhood. But they were based on the biology, the biochemical makeup at the time. And you can meditate and you can do energy work for sure. But you really have to just allow it. I think of it as, have you ever had too much coffee or too much caffeine? And it's just coursing through your brain, and it's making everything exaggerated, and I have to take action, and then you loop around and loop around and loop around. And I realized that this was like that I was just going to have to wait it out. The things had to course through my system, and they would change. But in that moment, they weren't going to change. And so I had to stop believing the feelings of I'm going to get in trouble. And to do that, I had to, what I call pat the body. I'm going to do it up here so you can see. But it's like just being kind. And oftentimes I do it on my knee because my hands are usually around my knees. But just to pat the body, like consoling. Like it's okay, not making it wrong, and noticing that what the biological sensation feelings are doesn't match current reality. And once you have that kind of a breakthrough experience, then when the biology kicks in again, you can have kindness and allowance for yourself and allow it to complete its cycle. And the more you do that, where you're consciously aware that your body's going through a trauma response, and you can have kindness for yourself as it goes through the trauma response without believing it. You can see that you're okay. And you can reassure yourself that you're okay, even though the chemicals haven't caught up yet. And by interrupting that cycle in that way, you have more and more freedom. You don't have to buy the trauma response anymore. You don't have to believe that in this moment, the trauma response is the only real and true thing. And in the beginning, you did, because back in the day when it got set, it was your survival. So you don't want to diminish that, and you want to make the distinction that was then and this is now. And now you don't have to react that way. Now you don't have to respond that way. Now you don't have to believe that stuff. Now you add on top of that the current situation in America. And it is all about the strategies. They're not bullets. They're jacking our minds, or jacking our attention. They're jacking our nervous system. They're kicking everybody into fight, flight, freeze, fawn. They're doing all of this on purpose. So all the bodies that have trauma responses as the way to live are being kicked in, on steroids, like all the time. So be aware that you're being manipulated, right? They're trying to manipulate us into having their way and for the purposes of destruction. That's it, just destruction. And so this is an opportunity for even more kindness for yourself. So kindness can look like breathing, and you really, when you find yourself kind of jacked, you can just like close your eyes and take 5 or 6 nice slow breaths and count them. 1, 2, 3, right? Count out loud, or at least in your head. Count your breaths. And between the breathing and the counting, it helps your biochemistry change. It helps you come into this present moment. And in this present moment, without the editorials, without the crawl line, without all the things that you're thinking and all the things that are being kind of imposed upon you to think, you can come back to center into this particular point in time. Because right here, right now, is spacious. It's absolute kindness right here, right now. And it helps you connect with you. And when I say you, I mean your infinite self, aligning with your body personality, coming to here right now in a way that your body personality can feel, can have a sensation of it. And then you get the fun of the adventure of starting to find out what is your speed. Because I guarantee you it is not fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And it is not feel the burn or no pain, no gain. None of that is real. It's a collective thought form, but that's not real. Look into nature, go for walks, watch nature videos if you can't go for walks for whatever reason, and connect with the natural part of you, which is, by the way, original blessing. Original sin is a made-up concept. So I encourage you to count while you breathe, count breaths. Notice the feel of the sun or the breeze on your skin. Notice the seasons changing. Notice the color that's bright new growth green of spring, or the brown branches of winter, whatever season you're in. Breathe. Count your breaths. Come home to you and find out what your speed is. I guarantee it'll feel so much better. Thanks for stopping by.